Anyway, Mitch, I'm curious because you know personalities and you studied coaches, and I went back and listened to Coach Campbell on Husker Sports Nightly with Jess talk about the expectation level for the culture, and he was talking about year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and year 3 is now defending the culture, defending the program as a player. I can't help but to think, especially watching Coach Rhule over these last handful of weeks, and he kind of had the social media where he kind of planted the flag with representing the program. You think we're going to get year 3 Coach Rhule defending the program? Can you see that as kind of the next evolution as he spends time talking to us in 2025?
Seems like it. I mean, I think he's probably already started with that. I think you see subtle adjustments and changes, and you could even say that like some of that is the way that he handled the spring. Some of that is evident in the way that he handled the spring and the way that he's handling the summer too. So I we way overanalyze who Nebraska takes, and I think everyone in the media does this because it comes out around July 1st, and you're kind of starved for football stuff. Although not this year. There seems like there's been a lot of news this week, but it's a habit now to look at the Big Ten Media Days list and see who they're taking and go, ooh, like how can we analyze that? Like, what does that mean? Like, it doesn't really mean anything. It means like those were the guys that they felt would be good to talk, or maybe they didn't have a vacation plan, but right before preseason camp started. But the fact that they're taking Henry Lutovsky over, like, you could have taken Rocco Spindler really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And Rocco has only been in the program for a few months, but he's way more comfortable, I think, in front of cameras than most of the other projected starters. Certainly Lutovsky. Like Lutovsky's a guy
last year with Ben Scott as a guy that had only been in the program 1 year.
Yeah, and I mean they took Jeff Sims. I mean, I think there's a temptation now to just take guys who come in out of the portal. Like you could see Nebraska taking Dane Key or Marcus Watson Trent. Like these are leaders on the team. But to me, that's like kind of part of defending the program is, no, we're going to go with the guys, put the guys out front who've been a part of this for at least the last year or two. So Lutovsky to me is somebody who can speak about the program. Rocco Spindler, for like all that he has to contribute and as valuable as he is, as important as he is, and I think he'll be able to speak for the program at the end of the season or during the season. But right now, like he's a guy who's been at Notre Dame for the last 3 years and has spent part of one offseason in Lincoln. So I think that goes into, and I'm probably reading too much into it, but I think that goes into the decision to take Lutovsky because he is somebody who has he represents Nebraska in a different kind of way than a player who just came from the portal.
Mitch, somebody asked us this earlier this week, and they brought up Lutovsky in both the media days representation and kind of amongst the starters on the offensive line. Is he a no-brainer starter for you this year?
Well, again, to overanalyze that choice to take him to Las Vegas, he kind of is now. The no-brainers to me coming out of spring were Pritchett, Spindler, and Justin Evans. Mm-hmm. So, where's my watch going crazy here? Anyway, I think it thinks I'm working out, which is alarming. But
we'll try not to.
It was the hot food take. That's what it was.
I don't know what's going on.
I can't believe this dude won't eat food outside.
But now I think I'd probably put Lutovsky in there. The thing is like, do you put him at right tackle, or do you put him at guard, the opposite of Spindler? So I don't know. I know he's adept and capable and has experience, practice reps.
Played pretty well
both. Yeah, where do you think he go? Do you put him at guard?
Ideally, I'd put him at guard.
Yeah, and then the question is, okay, so is it Gunnar Gatula at right tackle, or are you hoping to get one of the injured guys back?
It could be Canuck. It could be
Canuck.
Yeah. I like Canuck.
I like him.
I like Teddy too. So,
and Gunnar played well last year.
And depending on, I don't know, what are you going to get out of a healthy Corcoran? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think Lutovsky belongs in that discussion of four without. I mean, I didn't hesitate yesterday when you asked me.
I think he's a starter. I'm just not entirely sure where.
I hope it's guard, just for his sake to flourish and where he's comfortable. But look at me and say whatever these guys need. That's just how we get down, DB. And I would believe that too, because that's how Coach Raiola kind of has them. When you're looking at kind of more the defending of the program mantra, how much of it do you think not stems from just the necessary protocol of year 3, but the fact that they actually think that this team is pretty good internally? Like, what kind of driving force do you think that is?
I think it's a big factor. I think it's difficult to make that part of your main platform in the way that you go about your business to defend the program if deep down inside you don't have that belief about improvement and where Nebraska's at. I think Matt Rhule really liked where Nebraska's program was at going into year 2. Year 1, there were a lot of questions, and it's year 1 is year 1. That's like self-explainable. Year 2, I really think like in moments where, he wasn't, on the record, or I don't know, and not even talking to media. It just could be talking to among coaches, to his friends, like confidants, that kind of stuff. I think he still spoke highly of what he thought about that team. Like he believed in that team. And some things went sideways with Nebraska last year, absolutely. And there was some unexpected stuff, like it just happens in a football season. They righted the ship a little bit at the end, but it took some pretty dramatic change from him to some unorthodox stuff to salvage. That's really, it was headed in a direction that I don't think that anybody thought it was going to go. They didn't envision a 4-game losing streak in October going into the start of November. So this year, I think he has still an even higher opinion of what he believes the team can be. Last year, for whatever it was that was pumping up his excitement, you still had a true freshman quarterback, and there's going to be ups and downs. This year, that's a different story. Like, not only is he not a true freshman, he's I think a trusted piece and has come a long way in so many different areas that can help you and translate to better play on the field.
Mitch, speaking of maybe defending the program, depending on how you took it, what did you make of Coach Rhule tweeting out a couple days ago, too many people have profited financially off of negativity and despair. Their time is over. Did you have what struck you? What did you think he was talking about in that moment?
I don't know. The first thing was like, oh, okay. He's just like blowing off some steam on a Monday night. That's the first thing I thought. Like, this isn't
maybe
that
the
big of a
seafood
deal.
wasn't very good at the Cape. I don't know.
Right, exactly. He's settling down for a 4th of July in New Jersey, and just said, "Here's my final 2 words. Like, I'll sign back on the social medias next week, and find out that thousands of people have interpreted this in whatever way that they choose to." I
was going to see
very,
right.
I very naively kind of just thought like, this is not a big deal. Like, nobody's going to really care about this. Whatever. It's just Rhule being Rhule. And he's just, like when he would tweet emojis for just to see what the reaction was going to be way back in year 1. But I was mistaken, because everyone who has a take and a platform to share it has thoughts, and they think that they know what he's talking about, when the reality is I don't know. And Damon, you don't know. Do you know? Like, did you?
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, is it? I have no. I could guess, and lots of people have guessed, but I can't say with certainty that I know.
So let me ask you something, Mitch, because maybe.
Oh, so you know?
I plead the 5th for fear I may incriminate myself. I don't know. I'd totally be speculating, but I do want to ask you something, because you can help me, and I need your help, because I didn't mean for this to sound like a hot take, right? Because Bill Byrne was probably my favorite. Coach Osborne is clearly the most accomplished. And neither of those guys had to really. You can even factor in staff too, the surrounding staff. But neither of those guys had oversaw errors with the support staff needing to be what it is in 2025. So I said, this is probably the most cohesive and collective bunch of group thinkers that I've seen since I played, where I think the athletic director, the coach's vision, the support staff, and the strength of the assistant coaches is at an all-time cohesive bunch. I don't know how it lends itself to wins and losses, but in terms of being like-minded and defending the university and what it's capable of, I haven't really seen this. Is that a hot take for you, or does it make sense?
Is it? Yeah.
You may have had a better individual AD or a better individual, but collect the team, the pieces, the sum of the parts.
Okay, so sure. I don't think it's that hot of a take. I mean, I think that the people around Troy Dannon and under him all appear to be very competent. And when you have conversations with like Kristen Brown who is in charge of women's sports, or with Haven Fields, and then you get into the football program and you talk to like Kristen Coggin or Mitch Cholowinski, and I'm talking about people who are all in like senior type leadership roles, like lieutenants for Dannon or Rhule. All of them come off to me as very good at, like the appearance is really good. Like when you meet them, you're going to walk away impressed. I don't have the luxury of being able to sit with them for like an entire day and watch them go about their job and say, oh yeah, I know. And even then, would you really know for certain, like how effective, efficient, everything they are? It would take more studying, but like it looks good on the surface. I think it's good. Like it appears to be like a very buttoned up, well-run, nicely structured organization within the athletic department and within the football program. But part of it to me, and part of the reason that I don't think it's a hot take, is because it's kind of obvious. Like in the days when Nebraska athletics was just a machine, you go back to when Bill Byrne was the AD, like 30 years ago. They didn't have that many. They didn't have anywhere close to that many people in these kind of roles. It was like three or four people doing the jobs that you now have like 10 or 12 to do. And part of it is that there's more to do now. And there's so many different areas that you have to pay attention to, and things that didn't exist in football or in college sports 30 years ago that are prominent now. But like, I think it looks great because there's so many people in the positions to do the job.
Even just with Bill Byrne and Coach Osborne, just two individuals, head coach, athletic director, there didn't always come across as this unified, cohesive, collective, hey, we're moving, I want to move in the same direction. And that's just with two.
Yeah, you're right.
Know what I mean?
You're right. It didn't. And there were ebbs and flows of that, like at the end for sure. But right. I totally agree. Even before Coach Osborne retired and went over Bill Byrne's head to pick his successor. Like even before that, there was plenty of there. What's that?
I wasn't exactly going there, but yeah. I mean,
okay. Well, no, I mean, that's like the most obvious example of how the two of them were not on the same page. But there were other things. I mean, you might even say like Nebraska's decision to join the Big 12 was something that they didn't see eye to eye on. So yeah, absolutely. Like there wasn't the cohesiveness, but I mean, I think they were both like so like level-headed and like business focused that whatever like personal differences and disagreements that they might have had over an issue, big or small, like they were able to set it aside and ultimately do what they believe, like come to some kind of an arrangement where they believed like they were making the best of the situation. Like it wasn't dysfunctional in the way that we have seen athletic director, football coach relationships work, the dynamic work other times in the past 20 or 30 years. Plenty of times it's been dysfunctional and detrimental
way
to the
more.
success of the team. But and they're at a place right now where I do not see that. I do not see. I see efficiency and a unified front.
Mitch, would you make the case that this is the most difficult era in the last 25 years to navigate on top of that? Or is
Well, it's good that they have a lot of people. It's good that they have that the staff is deep. So that makes it that takes away some of the difficulty. Like if you were trying to do this with the size staff that Nebraska had 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you'd be in deep. But yeah, it's more complicated to think about the stuff that's on Nebraska's plate as an athletic department right now. And if you want to compare it to 2015 or 2005, it's night and day different. I mean, just the revenue sharing and everything that comes with that is a huge hornet's nest that just wasn't there. So, and it goes way beyond that. Like it's a lot. I mean, we used to say that college football or college sports is like it's big business. It's, compared to a Fortune 500 company, and it pales in comparison to what you see today. If it was a Fortune 500 company, then it's something way beyond that today in 2025.
Mitch, it's kind of funny to me the how unified things at least appear to be at Nebraska, because you look at it and go, okay, typically when you see that in a athletic department, you have an AD who hired the head coach and now they're all on the same page.
That's a good point.
Like the fact that this is a AD that was brought in, it seems they're even more aligned with Dannon, and I'm not hating on Trev, but then they even were with Trev who brought Rhule in the first place. Like that feels like, I don't know. I kind of made jokes at the time. It's like, yeah, I wonder if they ran the AD hire past Rhule, because it sort of seemed like he was running things at the time. But
they clearly had to.
They definitely did.
Yeah, like
100%.
Like it does seem like there is this even greater level of unity with a guy that didn't hire him than with the guy that did.
Is that maybe? I'll ask you guys this: does that maybe speak a little bit to the personalities of all three who we're talking about here? Like
that, that's something. So that's
where I would have gone with Dannon versus Alberts.
That's definitely something, because like I said, when I first said what I said about the like-minded thinking, there's been greater individual pieces in the respective roles, right? Like I said, obviously T.O.'s the most accomplished coach. Byrne was arguably the best of the athletic directors, but together, I don't know if they got the best out of each other, right? For that stretch of college athletics. That's why I'm making the case for the sum of the parts here and the way that they work together. I don't really remember the last time I've seen it that cohesive.
It's a great point. Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great point, and I also like what Ravi brought up about inheriting a football coach and what the history says about coaches who were inherited. It hasn't gone well. There are places in the country where you can find that it has. I mean, Rhule's not like completely alone in being a football coach who's set up to succeed for an athletic director who didn't hire him. There are plenty of examples out there where that happens, but in Nebraska, it has not happened, right? And maybe part of that is because all of the football coaches who've come before Rhule, going all the way back to Osborne, ended their times ended badly. But for the most part, when a new AD has come in, it's spelled doom for the coach in that chair. And Rhule, you can safely say, is like breaking the mold in that way. So at least so far, like they got to play this season, but at least so far, it looks like it's going that way.
I do think there's a part of it, not to answer my own question or anything, but you kind of threw it back on us, so I'll allow myself in this moment. Like, I do think part of it is it really doesn't seem like Dannon cares about getting credit, and it's really easy to align with someone like that. Where I've made a lot of jokes about Trev. I think Trev was good at his job.
He wasn't even the worst of the bunch.
I do think Trev wanted
that's
credit,
not the example
though,
I would have used.
For the ADs, but I just mean directly for the Rhule example.
I mean, Mitch, you've seen it all. Like,
if you want to talk about ADs getting credit, yeah.
I mean, Steve Trev is probably the worst.
Trev is third on the list.
Peterson's is Peterson the worst?
Yeah, and Bill Moose like to get credit
up there.
So.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Peterson would be at the top of the list. Yes.
Like I'm just telling you, like and I think the thing that I'm so enamored by is the range in which they have to operate at a high aptitude, like just the level of being a forward thinker, right? You can't be a guy that's going to bitch and moan and needs things to be crystal clear before you can function at a high level. These guys and gals can clearly operate in the murk and still come across as thinking real collectively. Like I think I don't know, man. I think it'd be incredibly difficult to play a game in which you don't know the rules and to have everybody play it the same way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just like a quick thought here to expand on that subject. Like, imagine being Matt Rhule and trying to strategize on how to put together this 2026 recruiting class from the months of let's just say signing day last year when you got done, you put the cherry on top of the 2025 class. So from December through May and June of this year to say we have to figure out the way to put this class together, but we don't know how many people we're going to be allowed to have on the roster in 2025. Like it could vary. It could swing by like 20 bodies. We may have to be at a hard 105. Yeah. And for a while, it looked like they were going to have to
at a minimum 15.
Yeah.
Right? That's a
so
lot.
Right. He was recruiting and strategizing to put a class together with like 1.5 hands tied behind his back. And then in June, they got clarity. On June 6th, they got clarity. And they were told with the House settlement that they could count old players who were on the roster. They wouldn't have to count against the 105. And all of a sudden, it opened up, and you're able to recruit without a hand tied behind your back. And look what's happened since then. The class went from 2 to 12, and all of a sudden, it appears to be right on track with where they wanted to be at the end of this thing.
Yeah, Tony, one of our listeners brings up a good point, because Remington, and this was kind of one of his things when he wanted to streamline the athletic department. I mean, Remington did say out loud, he's like, there's a lot of people in this athletic department. It's just crazy how in like 8 short years.
I do think it's funny though, because
it's changed quite a bit.
It's sort of the thing that people talk about, like, hey, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, that's fine as long as everybody's on the same page. I think that was the bigger issue.
And as long as they all have defined roles. I think I've seen examples in the past of people in the athletic department who had big titles, but they didn't have defined roles. I think they do. I think for the most part, they do now.
Wow,
that's a good point.
I'm gonna have to take off and run with this one. He always does that to me, though.
Mitch,
this segment will last another segment and a day because of some of the stuff that you say.
That's why you can only come on every other week. Otherwise, that's all the content we would get to.
We'd never get to a rundown.
Like we do anyway. Mitch.
Well, the summer craziness is almost over, so like baseball's about done. So thank you for and vacationing and all that. Thank you for and Shane, really, not you guys, but thank you, Shane, for just like continuing every time you would tell me, hey, you're scheduled to be on the show this week. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm like, I'm doing this or that, but. Now we're starting to get back to normal. It's July, and we got 3 weeks until 3 weeks. 3 weeks from yesterday, we'll be talking in Nebraska and Vegas.
I always love the fact you always have a different angle, Mitch. So you're probably like, this whole Dylan guy, 45 minutes open session, no big deal. I'm going to talk to take Deshaun Singleton. He will challenge your high level thinking skills, and you'll come up with a good angle. Pick Deshaun Singleton's brain. He is extremely interesting if he'll give you what's in there.
Good. I hope we get that, because that's one thing I miss in like this new way modern way of the access to players where 95% of it is them standing at a podium taking questions from 20 people. Like, you miss the opportunities, and they still exist in some situations, but to be able to sit down with a guy one-on-one and really talk to him. And, you know, while part of Big Ten Media Days is that big group, like, they're there long enough for an entire day that if you want to, you'll be able to talk to him one-on-one. And Deshaun's one of those guys that I think would be great to get to know better.
He's interesting.
That's our guy, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, appreciate the time. As always, great stuff. Have a good holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Be safe.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. You too.